Oh, so I see it's 7:30. Are we recording, Sandy? Great. Okay. So welcome to the March 17, 2021 meeting of the Town of Ossining Planning Board. Let's go around the screens and introduce ourselves. Carolyn?
Carolyn Stevens, Planning Board member.
Jesus?
Yep.
Introduce yourselves for the public.
Oh, Jesus Lopez.
Okay. Planning Board member. Okay. Valerie?
Valerie Menostra, Planning Board, Town Planner.
Dan?
NCRC, a consulting engineer to the planning board.
Sandy?
Sandy Anelli, Secretary of the Planning Board.
Kathy?
Kathy Zalantis, Planning Board Attorney.
They just moved the screens around. Donna?
Sharrett, Planning Board member.
Gareth?
Gareth Huffam, Planning Board member.
Great. I'm Tim Watchin. I'm the chair. The first item on the agenda is Borrega Solar, St. Augustine Church property, 381 North Highland Avenue, battery storage system, site plan review, continuing the public hearing. Valerie, where do we stand on this?
Well, as the applicant submitted a letter from the state, basically acknowledging that they more or less accepted their proposal for the archaeology for the site. They are asking for some additional testing as well as a work plan. So that is next steps that need to take place. So at this point, I provided the board a draft negative declaration for your consideration for seeker. If the board is interested in considering that the archaeology and the work plan would be a condition of approval and also clearly a condition of the negative declaration, as well as a mitigation measure already identified and being worked into the overall project, this board can consider the negative declaration for tonight's meeting.
Okay. Are there any members of the public interested in this matter? Sandy?
I don't see anybody with their hand raised. You can use your raise your hand icon if you wanted to speak on this matter.
Okay. Are there any comments from the members of the board? Donna?
No.
Gareth?
Well, I was going to say, that I still had some issues regarding the archaeology, but now that Valerie has told me the current status with the state asking for more testing, I'm happy about that. I would be fine with accepting, this draft statement on the condition, that the archaeology is, approved by the state. Everything else is fine in my book. I did want to point out, though, a typo in the paragraph on the impact on aesthetic, historical, and archaeological resources. And a few sentences in, it says the project site is within any area designated. So it should say project site is within an area designated.
Yes,
So
thank you.
Little something. So that's all.
Got it. Thank you.
Carolyn, do you have any comments or questions? You're muted, Carolyn.
The dog I was afraid the dog was going to bark, so I muted myself. Sorry. I'm fine with that with the provisions that Valerie mentioned.
Okay. Does the staff have any more comments? Dan?
No, I'm good.
Kathy?
I just want to clarify that this is not a conditional neg deck.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just, it's a neg deck that's being issued with appropriate mitigation conditions. So I just want to clarify that.
Thank you, Kathy. I realized after I said that, I was like, wait. Yes, thank you.
All right. So I assume we can redraft this to make it conditional, in accordance with what Gareth has mentioned, and also what the state will end up having to. We assume the tests are going to come back fine if the tests come back fine. But is it worthwhile for us?
We don't want to make this a conditional neg deck because there's other procedural issues that arise then. I think the way that it's drafted is correct because it's identified as a required mitigation measure.
And however,
Okay.
it can be a condition to your site plan approval, right?
Right.
So they still need, this is just finishing the seeker process so they can go to the town board. But when they come back from the town board, there still is a site plan approval process that this board has to finish.
Okay, so we could make a resolution on the site plan and not do the neg deck yet. Is that what you're saying?
No,
No,
so
you have to do the neg deck first.
right. There's a difference between, and I used the wrong term. There's a difference between a negative declaration and a condition neg deck. And so when I said it's a condition of the neg deck, what I just meant was that we have it written in there that as part of the mitigation measures, in order to be able to have this neg deck, that they have to actually ultimately get approvals from the state. And so I use the word condition, and Kathy was just clarifying it so that, because there is technically, if you do a condition neg deck, there's other steps in the seeker process for it. And so she was just clarifying that it really is a neg deck, and I misused the word condition when speaking of the neg deck.
Okay,
All
right.
It's just terminology.
I have a question. If we did that, would we then be out of the loop?
No.
No, you're still going to ultimately be in the loop because, first of all, it's a required mitigation measure. So it's referenced in the neg deck as a required mitigation measure. After the applicant goes to the town board and then presumably would come back to this board, it still has to go through the site plan review process. And that can be then a condition of any potential approval that this board issues. So you're still very much in control of the requirement.
Okay, because I want to remain on top of this particular issue. So
You'll have another entire opportunity to
okay,
view the issue and ensure that compliance with that.
okay, great, thanks.
Okay. Jesus, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
No, I'm all right. I understand it. I'm okay.
Okay. Does the applicant have anything to add at this point?
I do not. Greg Gibbons.
Yes, I apologize for being a couple minutes late. I missed the very beginning of the conversation. I just wanted to let you know that Justin is on. He's our consultant from Harkin, and he's been corresponding with SHPO, and if there was a question specifically for him, you could ping him off him, but in his if you had questions for him, you could ask about how the process has gone, and he said he has told me that it's pretty normal for the situation, how things have transpired, and I just wanted to have the actual person who was a little bit more experienced in the matter on the call. But if the people don't have any additional questions for him, then that's fine too.
All right, Valerie, so what's the next step on this?
I think, Gareth, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, when would we be learning what the additional mitigation or testing requirements would be from SHPO?
I'll speak to that, Greg.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, sure. The SHPO, we had recommended, to back up a little bit, in our report, which I think most of you have probably seen, is to try to achieve avoidance. So to configure the design of the facility in a way that it would leave the site, the portion of it anyway that exists within the project footprint, to leave it intact. And SHPO has agreed with that overall approach. Their concern was at the level of testing that we did, which already exceeded the level of testing that would be standard for a phase 1, but that it's still, the spacing on our tests is a bit large to offer sufficient confidence that we've delineated the boundaries of the site correctly. So they have asked for the additional testing to better delineate the boundaries of the site and for us to more explicitly describe what those avoidance measures that Borrego and we have alluded to in the phase 1 report. So the next steps will include more testing at a closer spacing similar to what was in the phase 1. We will define with a greater degree of precision the site boundaries, and then we will put together that formal avoidance plan in the format that SHPO typically looks for. And that avoidance plan will present the new site boundaries, and it will specify both how we're avoiding the site vertically and horizontally. So the portion of the project that is directly on top of the site is currently filled. So it's all going to stay above the site plus a vertical buffer. Right. And then the portions of the project that have deeper impacts will be horizontally from the edge of the site plus a buffer. There'll be no closer to the site boundaries there. So that will be laid out in additional detail in the supplemental report and the avoidance plan. To answer your question about timing, we have the additional testing scheduled for next week. And then probably something like 2 to 4 weeks, for us to prepare the report, for Borrego to review it and approve it for us to release outside our organization. So approximately a month, and the results should be available.
Okay. How many additional test holes do you anticipate?
The exact number I don't know, because in part what we'll do, our process in this case, is to start around where we know we had artifacts previously and begin to encompass those locations. If immediately, and we do the initial, say, 15 to 20 extra tests, and we get no other materials, then that will be sufficient. Mm-hmm. A more detailed boundary. If we find that in one direction or another, to the south or to the heading to the east, that the site actually extends more in that direction, we continue to get tests that produce some of the artifacts, then we'll continue with the testing at those closer intervals until we get a point where we have several consecutive negatives. By negative, I mean a test that's not got any cultural material. Right. And then we'll draw it. So, we anticipate that it's could be as few as 15 or so, or it might be as many as 40 to do that. So. Okay. I mean, vertically, it makes total sense what you're talking about, avoidance with a certain buffer. I think you said 6 inches in here. Horizontally, I can't imagine that just by chance, the footprint of your proposed facility, is sitting right on an isolated cultural site. It seems much more likely to me that whole plateau was occupied at one point or another, and that I would expect you to find horizontal positives as far as you would look, but the data will tell. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, one thing to keep in mind with that, the plateau, the way it appears now, I believe is broader a little bit than the way it was naturally as an effect of the filling that's occurred.
Mm-hmm.
As you get closer to the base of the slope, I believe it's actually there the filling is a little bit less, right? So, you know, if you can imagine the curve of the slope and the filling is going like this. So the terrace that we know the site is located on, you know, may have been, I don't know, but may have been the flattest portion. And it's certainly the portion that, you know, is closer to overlooking the waterway.
Mm-hmm.
You draw an important question, you know, and it's something like you said, the testing results will reveal what that distribution is, but it's certainly something to be aware of and on the lookout for as we do the testing.
One last question. Are any of the new tests going to go outside the boundary of the footprint? Like farther west in particular?
Well, so our initial testing, those results caused Greg and his team to, in the intent to avoid the site, to preserve it in place, cause some design modifications. So the testing that we did during the phase 1 wasn't the way we would have intended it if we had known what the current footprint of the project would be. So there are a few gaps that we would not have left in that footprint. So we will supplement to fill in those areas as part of this work. But otherwise, the testing will be limited to the current impact area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Valerie, what's our next step on this?
I think it's just now for the board to vote on the neg deck, pass resolution on the neg deck.
Okay, can I have a motion to that effect?
So move.
Thanks, Carolyn. Who seconds?
Second.
Thanks, Donna. Gareth, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jesus, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, Donna, how do you vote?
Yes.
Carolyn, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Okay, thank you. We'll hear from you back when we see the results of the testing and the compliance. Next item, actually, you know what? Let's check. Sandy, is anybody here for the Rinaldi subdivision, 39 Torrington Road?
Can I ask quickly before we move on to the next topic, just as a matter of process, does this board need to refer us to the town board after the neg deck so we can start that process, or do we just send an application there?
So I think at this point, you can just submit an application, and I think to a larger extent, we'll put into the resolution that is in effect that it was referred to the town board, but you can move forward with your application before the town board.
Okay, I apologize for interrupting. Thank you.
Okay, Sandy, is there anybody here for the Rinaldi subdivision, 39 Torrington Road?
I don't see anybody with their hands up.
Okay, can I have a motion from the board to adjourn this public hearing to April 7th?
I'll move.
Any second?
Second.
Gareth, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jesus, how do you vote?
Yes.
Donna, how do you vote?
Yes.
Carolyn, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Okay, so that's adjourned. Going to the item left is Terra Rustica Ristorante, 550 North State Road, site plan amendment. No, there's a public hearing new. And I wanted to thank the Environmental Advisory Council for their input as well at this time. Is the applicant here?
Yes, we are here. Corey Salomon on behalf of Terra Rustica, as well as our project architect, Luda Macy.
Great. Okay. Valerie, how do we stand on this?
So this application went before the Zoning Board of Appeals. They did approve the application. And there was a recommendation from the Zoning Board of Appeals that we just make, that the board considers making a condition of approval, no more than 30 seats on the deck.
Okay. Does the applicant have anything to add at this time?
Nope, it's same application before you. We're ready to, we will commit to the 30, no more than 30 seats on the deck. That's what we've said from the outset, that we're just expanding it just for more social distancing and provided coverage.
Great, okay. So Valerie, what do we have to do on this?
I believe this is the public hearing for this. Kathy, you wanna?
Yeah, this is the public hearing, so you have to open it up for public comment. Oh, make a motion to open the public hearing and.
It's not already open already?
I'll move to open the public hearing.
Is this the
Okay.
first? Oh, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. I just thought it was already opened.
Okay, then-
who seconds?
I'll second.
Gareth?
Yes.
Jesus?
Yes.
What they're doing.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Vote to open as well. So now it's public. Sandy, is any member of the public here wish to speak on this matter?
Yes, we have Vera Albrecht.
Yes. Hi, I have a couple of concerns. I attended the meeting yesterday, the zone boarding meeting. And I know that it was passed that they're going to be doing the deck and that they said that there would be 30 seats. 30 seats for that size deck. And what I'm trying to find out is if there is any way that they can then, if they're doing that, if they can take the tent down. Because now they're producing more people because they still have the tent up and there's people in there and they're having the tent and they're having the deck build. And the increase of sound level is going to be very high because I'm literally 50 feet from the tent. And my house is 50 feet from the tent. And we hear every single noise that goes on. And between the sound, the lights, the music, which they're not even supposed to be playing music. And that was discussed a long time ago with the board and the planning thing. They weren't going to have a cabaret or anything like that, but they do have music going. And it's very loud and the lights literally shine into our living room. And I work, I'm since COVID, I've been home and I can't even open my window. And if they're having this tent up throughout the summer because COVID is still continuing, I'm trying to get some help here. The zoning board couldn't do anything because it was just a structure being built. And now I'm going to the planning board. I don't know what else to do. So I would like some help here.
This sounds like a code enforcement issue rather than something for the planning board.
Yeah, with all due respect, Mr. Chair, we did speak about this at the Zoning Board of Appeals as the building inspector stated that evening. The tent is simply up under the governor's orders with respect to COVID. As soon as those orders expire, the tent will be coming down. It's not really the subject of this application.
Excuse me, my name is Rudy Albrecht. I'm Vera Albrecht's husband. I'm not so much concerned about the structure or the fact that we have to deal with living next to a restaurant. We know this. I'm calling into question the behavior of the people running this establishment. The work that's being done at night, horrendous. Climbing on the roof with flashlights, using a steam jenny to clean the roof. This goes on a lot. We call the police, code enforcement. A lot of the police don't know what the code is. It's just the behavior surrounding everything. They are allowed to do what they want to do as a struggling establishment. And we have nowhere else to turn. We've called, and I'm not going to hold any, I called Dana Levenberg 3 times. Put me completely on the pay me no mind list, whereas I was called by the police chief asking if he can intervene to take care of this. This is ridiculous. So the planning board helps guide the town in its progress and development. I'm just hoping that somebody can help me try to find somebody that's willing to help these people work within the boundaries that they're given to have a thriving establishment. Working in the middle of the night, making noise. I woke up 12:30 one night. I thought I was at Playland Beach. It's crazy. And we're really frustrated. It was ill-timed, I guess, talking with the zoning board. We met with some resistance, but we have no other way to turn. I mean, I filed for a freedom of information to find out what the story is with these people. There's no talking with these people. They just put us on the pay me no mind list and go out of their way to antagonize and infuriate us. And they do this thinking it's fun. They make faces at us when we go to get the mail. You know, this is crazy. We wish maybe somebody can help us. The planning board, the worst thing we can do is to be quiet. And the best thing we can do is to help raise some awareness on this, and maybe a grateful ear or somebody that's willing to work with us, help us, you know, deal with this. We're very frustrated with this.
Could I ask a
the
question? Could I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Derek.
To the Albrechts, where exactly is your house relative to the restaurant? Is it to the
We're directly east of the fence of the establishment. We're on that
Directly
paper
east.
road.
Oh,
that comes-
yeah, I see it now on the plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
the tent is there and our house is like
And
kind
there's
of.
a 5/8
behind
inch
it.
thick fence between us and and I mean, at all hours at the night. There's no, I don't know. It's just they do what they want and they don't care. And then they put forth this proposition with this addition on the deck, and they clearly state that they want to foster good relations with the neighborhood to help keep it safe and nurturing and being good neighbors. That's why we attended the zoning board meeting, figuring that maybe they can bring some power to bear to help these people learn to be good neighbors. They're not even bad neighbors. They go out of their way to be antagonistic.
So, okay, so let me make one comment and ask another question. So one comment is that it looks to me that the new covered porch is on the other side of the building from you. And so I would expect that not to change your situation for the worse. But it sounds like you've got a bad situation. And I see in the drawing here, it says existing screening and trees as well as a fence. Are you suggesting that that screening is ineffective visually?
It's a chain link fence with a tennis screen fabric stretched on it, half of it. And then the rest of it by the open air tent that they have. It's a 5/8 inch thick stock board fence. That's not the point. The point.
I don't know if we have any power in this application because it's on the other side of the building, but let me ask you anyway, what could they do between their building and your house that would make a difference if their behavior was not going to change?
That I don't know. I mean, a thick fence 10 feet high, they have lights out there, floodlights come right in our window. I've asked them, could you guys direct it differently? They say, no. And I asked the police say, you got to talk to the board. So, you know, what board? I don't know. It's
like every time we talk
every
to
time we
somebody.
try to ask a question, nobody has an answer. And the police, they're trying to be helpful, but they're powerless sometimes.
So the floodlights go right into your house at night?
Yep.
And do you have a sense of whether it would make a difference if they just like tipped it into another direction or
Would
down a little
absolutely
bit?
make a difference. Yes.
Yes.
It would make a difference?
Yes.
Yes, but
So,
they don't.
can I ask Lou DeMasi, architect, so you're familiar with this site. What would you suggest as, you know, with an architect's eye, is there some easy way that, you know, that light problem at least could be solved?
I don't know of any floodlights that point in their direction unless it's from the tents. And that
No,
would be
it's right
temporary.
directly above the tent. If you came here and you'd let me show you, or anybody, you'd see what I mean.
It shines right into
Shines
our
right in our
living
front
room.
window.
So the light maybe that they're talking about is by the staircase, and that we talked about lowering the wattage on that light already.
Not lowering the wattage.
No.
Maybe you can direct it somewhere else because it's shining right on top of the tent, which is covered. So it's shining the top of the tent, not, serving any security purpose anywhere else.
The reason that the light was installed in the first place was to provide greater visibility for the staircase that goes down that's not currently being utilized because the tent is there. Once the tent comes down, stairs will be utilized again to access the lower parking area. And as we discussed at the previous meetings, we are going to lower the wattage of that light.
Lowering the wattage
It
doesn't
doesn't
change the
help it.
ray where it's pointed.
It won't help it. It
You
shines
need to
directly in our living room.
deflect the projection a different way, maybe. I don't know, but it's just annoying. And every time we ask somebody, we get this placating answer that serves no purpose other than to keep us quiet.
We can literally
Can I
sit here.
say something?
Sure.
So
Donna.
I actually see the light also, and I'm the one that had asked for the light to be lowered, but I definitely see the way it shines. Is there any way to illuminate those staircases with that staircase without having that overhead light? So I'm in the opposite direction, I see it. So I know you're going to lower the wattage, but is there any way to illuminate the staircase without that overhead light?
It's something that we could look into, yes.
That would be great. I think that it just seems like it would be so worth diffusing this issue, so that would be really, really great. If
Yeah.
you could look into that.
We could look into, maybe it's too high and we can lower it a little bit so it just shines
Yeah.
on the staircase, or
some other way to make
picture.
it really safe and not so elevated above the staircase.
Yeah.
Because I
We'll
definitely
talk to
see
the
it.
building inspector to see what his recommendation is on the safest way. I mean, listen, the number one priority is to keep people using the stairs safe.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Definitely,
we-
but it seems like there's got to be some other ways to illuminate, and I'm
Yeah.
sure
Yeah,
Luke
we-
can come up with something.
I'll bet you can come up with something. I agree. And you can illuminate stairs in many different ways. And it sounds to me like they've got a very legitimate complaint. And this would be a good time to try to resolve it since you're asking for something, out of the normal.
So my other issue is that the music. Is there music allowed outside now?
Yeah.
I didn't think so. It is, Valerie? You're allowed with these tents, you're allowed to have the music outside?
They play bugles.
Yeah,
No,
Sunday
there's-
afternoons, they blow the bugles.
I don't believe there's supposed to be any music outside.
I've gone by that.
All right, so
place.
that's something that would be a code enforcement issue, then, I do believe, right? There
Yes.
should not be music outside. So,
I have gone through Terra Rustica many times, and I had never heard the music outside. So
Well-
I have music inside.
We live here and we hear it. I hear it every single day. And they're not supposed to be having music at all. And like I said, I know it's COVID and everything else, but I'm working here too. I have conference calls and everything else. And the music Saturdays and Sundays, when the weather gets nicer, we can't even sit outside. We don't have any privacy because the tent is there and these people and the music and the noise. It's terrible. And they do anything possible to irritate, to make it worse for us. Where we have to call the cops and then the cops come and then every time it's something different, they can't find them because this cop says, oh, I don't know anything about it. And it's
well,
on
maybe you should
record.
maybe you could contact the building department and get a copy of the code. Or the resolution, if I'm not sure if I'm using the right word, Valerie. Is it regarding the tents? Is it the outdoor?
I would suggest they contact the building department
And ask for the resolution on that.
This is not within our purview.
Right,
The
and they
only
can
issue that
explain
we
to
have
the building.
The only thing that we do have an issue with is if those staircases can be lit in a way that's not
right.
intentionally offensive to the neighbors, perhaps the applicant should really consider doing that, considering how inexpensive that alteration would be. If there's a question with the music being played and it's not allowed, be forewarned. The applicant should be aware that if this is now going to be an issue, there's going to be a lot of issues from the code enforcement having proof of the fact that you're playing the music. Now, whether it is or not, that's a separate issue. But you would, of course, know whether you are playing the music, so we would expect you to understand what the code enforcement for that purpose would be. So applicant, are you playing music outdoors at this time?
I don't think the owner of Terra Rustica is with us this evening. I'm not at the restaurant. You know, anytime I've been there, there hasn't been music on, but I can't, you know, speak to a Saturday night of what's going on there.
Are you speaking for the applicant?
Yes, but I mean, I'm
Okay,
but I'm not at the
so
restaurant.
can you make a representation to that point?
That there's no music? I can't make a representation to something that I'm
Can
not
you
aware
make a representation that you won't have music if it's illegal?
If it's illegal, absolutely not. If it's in a resolution that we can't play music, then we can't play music. That we're not arguing that. We're not here on that tonight. Again, it's a code enforcement issue. If we are and the code enforcement comes out, then they'll give us a violation. But we have no intent on violating the code. And you know, to my understanding, we have been issued no violations for that.
I don't think you answered the question. What I'm asking for is a representation from the applicant that they're not playing music outdoors.
Yes, and I said we will not play music outdoors, and we will be in compliance with the resolutions of approval and the code of the town of Austining.
Okay, is there any other questions? Are there any other members of the public on this matter? Sandy?
I don't see anyone else that would like to speak.
Okay. Any other comments from the board at this time? Jesus?
Nope.
Garrett?
So I have one other comment, and it's kind of, I want to just bring something to everyone's attention. I'm not sure we can do anything about it here. So if you look on the drawing in the lower right, you can see it says water is coming out of a culvert, and it's labeled as existing Pocanico River tributary, and that is a situation there that needs some resolution. So what we have is an active stream with fish actually in it, which has been validated by a town consulting ecologist. Fish that are stopped in their tracks right there at that culvert, and then that culvert goes through and then opens again into a wetland across the street. So this is blocking, this intersection right here is blocking the movement of fish and aquatic animals like frogs and turtles and, you know, salamanders, things like that. And what we really need is another length of culvert that opens up to the stream in such a way that something that is crawling or swimming can make that transition. Right now, this culvert is what's called a perched culvert, meaning that it's above the stream, so it's like a waterfall. So I doubt we can ask in this application for a change to that, but that's something that needs to be addressed either voluntarily or some other time when, you know, you're trying to make a change to your parking lot or something. So that's something I wanted to bring up. We've been looking at that for about 4 years, you know, as the Artis was being built across the way. Since this culvert was not on their property, we couldn't have them do it. But I at least wanted to bring it to your attention that that is something that really needs to be changed.
I will bring it to the owner's attention, and if as and when he does work on his parking lot, we will take that into consideration.
Great. And at that time, feel free to reach out to me and I can get you some good design guidance on how to do that inexpensively but effectively.
Okay, great. Appreciate your assistance. Thank you.
Donna, you have any questions or comments at this time?
No, I think I said everything.
Carolyn?
No.
Okay. Is Dan still with us?
I'm still here.
Dan, yes.
And I don't have any issues with this application.
Okay. Kathy?
No. I
Okay.
presume next steps would be that the applicant would submit some kind of drawing or plan about the lighting issue. And if that could be submitted in advance and reviewed by Valerie and the board, and it's sufficient, then the board would be in a position at the next meeting to approve the resolution or approve the site plan. So you may want to consider a draft resolution at your next meeting.
Okay. Well, in either case, we're going to be adjourning the public hearing until April 7th, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Valerie, anything more?
Nope.
One other
Okay,
comment,
Gareth?
if I could. I just want to mention, I'd encourage the applicant to consider any other mitigation measures that might help the Albrechts and any other neighbors with light or noise. If there's anything you can do, please be sensitive to their concerns. It would go a long way.
Understood.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for considering that.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn this until April 7th, the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Who second?
I'll second.
Jesus, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gareth?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So we'll see you back in April 7th, folks. Thank
Very
you.
good. And so just to be clear, the only revision that you're expecting is the lights on the stairs on the plan.
Well, we would also prefer not to hear that you violated any codes.
Yeah, again, that keeps getting said. It was said at the zoning board meeting. The building inspector was at that zoning board meeting and confirmed we haven't violated any codes. So just because a neighbor says we did doesn't necessarily make it true.
The gentleman doesn't live here and hear it.
Yeah, I would just, as a neighbor by North State Road, I would just like to add that the building inspector it's a part-time position. He's not there on the weekends. So there is a possibility that he hasn't heard it, if in fact it has, if there has been music. So just.
I would suggest the neighbors record and have a
I have it.
timestamp on those things. If
I
you
do
actually
have it.
wanted to make an issue out of it.
Yes, thank you. And I do have it. I do have everything taped.
Well, it'd be just great that if it could be diffused. I mean, I think that would just make everybody's lives so much nicer.
Yes.
The restaurant also, it'd be great. So anything you could do would be great.
Yeah, even a couple sections of higher fence could go a long way. We're not talking about a big expense there. So think about whatever you can do.
I will discuss all this with the owner.
There was a previous one that was
Thank
Big
you.
Country Rescue, Rudy Albrecht again. Back in 99 or 97, one of the neighbors, Richie Zioli, his wife still is here. He had asked for an 8-foot fence all around the place. There is an 8-foot fence up to a certain point by the restaurant, and the rest of this wooden fence is only 6 feet. I don't know if that would make a difference. I know that I hear the din of the crowd, and it's just, we know what's going on, and it's okay. We have to deal with it, and we live with it, and that's all right. It's just the after-hours work. We don't need Spoonheimer's Beer Hall next to us in the middle of the night on Saturdays and Sundays. It's uncomfortable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks.
Okay, has folks had,
Can I
Alan, go ahead.
say something? I lost the picture, so I'm going to go out and come back in. Okay, Sandy? So you can let me back in? Hello?
You're
She
here.
said
We
yes.
hear you right now.
I know you can hear me, but I can't see anything.
Oh, yes, we'll let you back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
My screen kind of went, I don't know, some weird thing popped up telling me Zoom tips, and I can't seem to get the picture back. So,
Well, nothing's been happening on the pictures anyway. You would just see us, the talking heads here. So you haven't missed anything, Carolyn.
all right, well, okay. I'm just gonna sign out and sign right back in. Okay,
Okay.
All right, we'll wait for you.
okay.
Meanwhile, just a question about whether folks had chance to read the minutes from March 3rd.
Yes, I read them. They were fine.
Okay,
Yes.
hello, I'm
Are you
back.
back?
Yep.
Hello.
Okay. So could I have a motion to consider the minutes from March 3rd?
So move.
Okay. Jesus, you weren't here, so you'll abstain on this one.
I'll second.
Who seconds?
Donna.
Okay.
Second.
Donna, Gareth?
Yes.
Okay. Any comments on the minutes?
Nope.
No.
No,
Okay. Could I have a vote to accept the minutes? Resolution to accept the minutes.
move.
I'll make that resolution.
Okay, second.
Okay. Donna, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Carolyn?
Yes.
Gareth?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So the minutes are accepted. Our next meeting will be April 7th. I understand that we should go into executive session. There's a matter of litigation that we wish to discuss. Is that correct, Kathy?
That's correct.
Okay, so could I have a resolution to go into executive session, and we'll adjourn from the executive session directly.
I'll move that we go into executive session to discuss litigation with our counsel.
I'll second.
Gareth?
Yes. I vote yes.
Jesus?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Okay, thanks to everyone who attended.